Governor Jay Nixon, speaking of church, next Sunday, it'll be the anniversary of Ferguson. What did you learn?
A lot. First of all, basically, the three lanes that we're talking about and thinking about this is we've listened, we've learned, and things are going to get better. On the listen side, one of the heartening parts of all this was while the language was perhaps a bit rough and the actions were strong, a whole new generation of people felt like they had a voice. It was in the street sometimes, it was very loud, and that was good. That's good. I mean, to have young folks involved again, especially if they're protesting you, is some level of interest. We've learned that these are difficult issues and that there are no short-term solutions. And so we've taken over the last year a very long-term as well as short-term approach. For example, in St. Louis County, where this happened, you have far too many municipalities, and they had courts that were basically debtors' prisons used to extract revenue for those small jurisdictions as opposed to have cops be cops instead of revenue agents. We completely and fundamentally, in the most sweeping bill ever passed in our legislature with municipal courts, have dramatically changed that, and will no longer have debtors' prisons and all of this sort of stuff vis-a-vis the municipal courts. We're going to require the police departments to be certified. Only 14 of the 62 police departments in St. Louis County have any form of certification. We're redoing.
What about Ferguson Police Department?
Not so certified. As far as that, they'll have a new chief that's starting. A lot of significant challenges there, kind of overrun, really, in the sense of relatively small town to have that much attention, and it requires.
But why can't you now put Ferguson into the municipal St. Louis Police Department and make one police department well-trained?
I think we will eventually get to that. I think the requirement of certification, when only a small percentage of them are, and the cost to get certified, will give the choice that many of those other small jurisdictions have taken, which is to go into the CLIA-certified St. Louis County Police Department. I think that's what that incremental step will clearly lead to. So we'll have a much more professional. And then next week I'll be announcing a new, what called our post-commission police officer standard and training, a broad new group of folks willing to serve on that to come in and make sure we're redoing the use of force issues and things of that nature. So those are some mechanical things that are very important structurally that are happening.
Are you going to require them to wear body cameras?
If we can afford it, and CNN wants to use the tape, I guess. If cities want to have body cameras, if we want to have them, if they want to pass a bill, I'll sign it and all that sort of stuff. But taking a picture of something bad happening is not a discussion about how to have that not happen.
Why not?
These are longer-term solutions, longer-term issues.
You don't think that the videos that have come out in the past 2 years have led to a change in police behavior?
And I don't have the exact, I'd be careful because you're rumored to be a recovering journalist, but.
I just read the stories on
the point
52 videos.
The point I was going to make on the other side is that where jurisdictions have had body cameras, the prosecution rate and conviction rates have gone up dramatically, as they have when they have. And as well as when folks wanted DNA tested. They thought it was for defense rights. It has gotten more prosecutions, successful prosecutions, than anything else. So the bottom line
does that make it good or bad?
Well, I mean, I think it's if they want to do it, fine. But I mean, I believe if you tell a cop that you are taping what he's saying, they do a pretty good job writing the reports too. I mean, they know how to do that, okay? So, and it's good to have an oversight on it, but these days everybody's got a camera. All this stuff's on TV, whether people have a body camera on or not. I mean, the biggest change we've seen over the last few years is everyone is a public figure and everyone is a reporter. And believe me, if we didn't learn anything in Ferguson, we certainly learned that, okay? Anything said by anybody anywhere, and sometimes that diminishes the ability to talk. So I'm not against body cameras, but I don't see that as solving the problem. I do think it would increase conviction rates. I do think that cops would get very good at using them to prove cases, and that may be useful to all of us, but make no mistake, it's not going to free as many people as it's going to lock up. No way. No way. The third part about the longer-term solutions exceptionally important. For St. Louis, which has been a racially divided area for years, north and south, and the challenges we've always had in the heartland and on some of these issues, kind of suppressed discussions sometimes. This last year has been one of the most amazing years of my life. To actually shut my dang mouth and listen a little bit, it's been, oxygen's easier to get, but it also, very interesting. People that wouldn't speak up before were speaking up, and at a basic level, folks are talking about these issues. And for example, we had an issue about some underperforming schools that we just couldn't get solved. The legislature passed 2 bills I had to veto that didn't solve it correctly. So instead of trying to solve it by a legislature, I went to a group of leading superintendents, and we've now adopted those schools. We have teacher mentors doing all of that. We've done a whole bunch of things, and when school starts this year, those 2 schools, I'm here to tell you, over the next few years will dramatically improve because the best educators in my state are going to give up their time after their day jobs or during other times to make sure those schools improve. That wouldn't have happened if there hadn't been the intensity we saw last year. And then the last piece I want to say, because I just get to say it once here, like I say, I'm 19 months before the end of my term. I'll get my full First Amendment rights back then. But I want to say that the law enforcement folks at Ferguson, after the initial challenges, as well as the National Guardsmen, the citizen soldiers that were necessary there because of a myriad of threats, a myriad of very, very challenging moments. Our pillars during that time were speech and safety. And I don't think anyone will doubt there wasn't enough speech, plenty of speech. Safety, I'm like the world's expert on riots now. As you prepare for this sort of stuff, you get briefed by everybody about every riot that's ever occurred anywhere. And as folks look back, we in Missouri want this to be something that was difficult, was painful, was not fun, but good came from it, better came from it. And as far as that, those folks that were there on the front line, since August 9th of last year until we completed all of the legal stuff that had to go through, not a single shot was fired by a police officer or a National Guardsman that struck a citizen on American soil involved in that, nor were any of those officers shot. That is a standard far above Rodney King, where 53 people were killed in those riots, including 12 shot by the cops. And so the folks on the first front line, those police officers and other folks that had to be out there during extremely difficult times with unbelievable things being thrown at them and said to them, they showed a discipline that may not have been pretty, but was successful in getting us through this without other bodies laying on the ground, and us in a situation now as 1 year later and the Ferguson Commission begins to do the 100 points of action we're working on, where things are going to get better. And Missouri is going to lead. We're not backing away from our challenge here. We're not, just because the TV cameras left and because it's not on the front page of every paper, saying it's not a challenge. And I'm very proud of my state for not being scared on the most difficult issues we have in this country: cops, police, kids, race, education, poverty, health care. It would have been really very easy to back up and step away and let them go to New York and talk about Gardner or Baltimore or Charleston. And instead, we've engaged. And to that, as somebody's been involved in public process, it's been one of the most heartening years of my life, even though very difficult.
Yeah. Governor, thank you. Governor, I think we first met in the 1990s when I was at Time Magazine. I used to take the other editors down the Mississippi River to stop at each town and learn things. And you were the Attorney General, right? State Attorney General of Missouri. And you were there at the reform of certain types of laws, how Missouri was going to change things. You talk about the Ferguson Commission and the 100-some-odd points. Just give us 1 or 2 examples now, having spent 25 years as, from Attorney General, Governor, whatever, of what you would change in terms of race and policing.
That's a very good question.
I mean, as you know, we did the St. Louis dialogue, the
right.
Aspen Institute, and I was reading some of the Ferguson Commission proposals.
When I was elected to the state senate in 1986, in order to be a police officer, standard, trained, licensed police officer, required 120 hours of training. To be a cosmetologist took 1,500 hours. Now, I've seen a lot of bad haircuts in my day. But no matter how bad they are, they don't lock you up and take away your liberty. So we now have a much more professional law enforcement than we have. We've passed training and requirements. We have the post commission I talked about. We invented it so that we try to hold those standards and things like that. So in law enforcement, you've had that. On the issues involving race and education is where they have really intersected. We have the two largest desegregation cases in the history of America in St. Louis and Kansas City, which is Attorney General. We brought to a conclusion and opened schools up and desegregated communities in ways that were stunning. I stood in a courtroom and apologized that the Missouri Constitution still had a separate but equal provision in it into the 1970s. 1970s. We had a war in the century before that. So some of the changes we've been able to make in those areas are exceptionally important. Exceptionally important. And the other thing, in my state, and even, the air's cleaner, the water's cleaner, people are healthier. So, I mean, when you look at other issues where we've made a difference, those are areas. Whatever else you want to ask about, I'm fine.